Okay, today we're going off to West Australia Hill, fought on the 9th of February 1900, where I believe 28 brave Australians fought off 400 Boer soldiers. So we're going to go heading out there today. We're going to be clambering around the rocks. There is apparently a commemorative plaque on the centenary of the battle, so we're going to be seeing that as well. And look at this, it's raining today in the Karoo.
It never rains in the Karoo.
It never rains in the Karoo, and here we are having a drop of rain here. So what a wonderful day to explore.
So that's it. Actually, Tony sort of said perhaps the men from Western Australia could relate to this. Certainly not Victorians. We don't have much of this long, flat, dry sort of. They salt bushes, Tony, on the ground.
Yeah, similar, like yeah.
So all the animals or the lizards and that have adapted to the conditions in the Karoo. They don't get much rain at all, except when I visit. Little towns in France, Ypres and those places are held by the British, and the Germans took them, then taken back by the British, and the Germans and the salt took it back. They changed hands, didn't they? So we're just entering Colesburg, which is a big name if you're a Boer War buff, and I know you are. It's in the Northern Cape. Just saying to Tony, or we've been reading in the book Tony's got, that the Boers annexed it for the Orange Free State, but it was taken and retaken by both sides during the Boer War. The British would fall back on Rensburg. And if you look at the episode from Murchison, when I go to Murchison, there's a memorial to men that lost their lives at Rensburg, and we'll be seeing Rensburg on this part of the trip. But then we're just coming into Colesburg now. Just a small little country town, Tony.
Yeah, very much so. Because it's on the main junction of the highways, you know, the one main road leading down to Cape Town, the N1, while it's also the other road leading down to Port Elizabeth. It's quite an important town, and its strategic position being where the junctions are leading off to the different big major cities. So yeah, this is the town of Colesburg. Predominantly around here is an agricultural region. Sheep farming is the biggest farming which is done around here. So,
we had some Karoo sheep last night, didn't we?
Yeah, delicious, absolutely delicious. So yeah, one of these little small, I think, tiny towns. I love the architecture, which I think you guys can relate to in Australia as well. You know, you got the covered veranda, or we call it a stoop.
Yeah.
Beautiful old corrugated roof housing, and very, old style housing, which you don't seem to have nowadays. Look at these old houses here in front.
Of course, the big question is, where's the wimpy?
They do have a wimpy, I think. They do have a wimpy out here somewhere.
Oh, look at this beautiful town hall. Oh my God.
It's a church, I think, actually.
A church.
Yeah.
Wow, that's impressive.
Yeah.
1826 maybe, or maybe that was the street number. Moved along the railway line a bit now, which was protected by the British, and you can see they were a lot more, they were a lot closer to the road back there, but these koppies and hills were perfect for Boers to stage ambushes, but also for the British to get on top. We're going to see a couple of horsemen now, and they stand out. Horsemen of the apocalypse.
Yeah, that's so true. That is so true.
They must be jockeys or something.
Yeah. Yebo!
But any of these hills, you'd want to be occupying them too. Because going out the car to stretch the legs, this is a real Northern Cape Karoo battlegrounds for the Australians. Australians rode up here. The British knew they were good horsemen, and they knew they could fight the Boers in this sort of terrain. We're going to West Australian Hill, which was a battle, and that farmhouse over there. Now when Tony opens this gate, there's no English to be spoken. It's all Afrikaans. I'll have to wing it with my Brackpen High School 23% fail rate of Afrikaans, but we'll do our best. But these hills, yeah, they would have resounded with Mauser fire and British 303 rifle fire, ambushes, exchanges, and lots of small skirmishes. So we think in here, perhaps, Tony, Slingerfontein or somewhere around here?
Yeah, I got a feeling I'm not, but this mountain obviously played a significant role. I think it's called Platkop, meaning flat top.
Yeah.
And I think it was probably at the back of this mountain here where the British had their camp and hospital.
Camp and hospital called Slingerfontein. Now, of course, we saw at Wagon Hill Platterunt, but this is Platkop. So Plat is flat.
Yeah, the one I feel is that rise here right in front of us on the right hand side.
Yeah.
So that is where the men were on top of that hill shooting onto the 400 Boer soldiers.
Right.
So
the approach to the farm, and I see a human. He's running, going for his Mauser.
yeah.
He
The
knows
Aussies are back.
the Australians are coming.
Yeah.
But I imagine to be harsh living out here. They're probably sheep farmers.
There's somebody. Is that Hendrik? No, it's not.
This is where they put their cattle and animals in at night.
Yeah, a kraal.
I suppose they would have built that when there were still leopards around or something.
Yeah, yeah. Now let's see.
Farmhouse looks somewhat newer.
Yeah, I've got a feeling this was probably once a barn. Because if you look somewhere,
Yeah.
Yeah, it probably was a barn conversion to a farmhouse. All right, so let me park here and let me see if I can find Hendrik.
Okay. Hendrik is the farm manager. The owner is probably a white guy, is he?
Yeah.
But they're real Afrikaners here. And look at this look at this stonework to protect their animals. As I said to Tony, I don't know who they would have protected them from. But when they were built, yeah, as I said, probably leopards or lion or something, maybe. There was some talk of me going on a motorbike up to the hill. With a couple of horses. That'd be the way. Be great to go on a horse. Across to West Australian Hill. I must admit it's not a battle I'm all that familiar with. I've heard of it, and I did note down on my phone in Samsung Notes. I had written just a single word, Slingerfontein. But I thought that was the hill the Australians were on, and I thought it was far more remote than this. We can hear the put 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 of the farm manager. That's why they're talking Afrikaans. Have a look in here. Maybe this was a milking shed or something. Oh, they got a lot of hay here. Typical farm, isn't it? It's got that farm smell. There's their piping for some irrigation. A few skins and a bit of wool in here. Following Hendrik on his motorbike, there was talk of me being behind him in the milk crate, but you don't need that. He's assured us. He looked at the car, he got on his hands and knees and looked under the car. He assured us that height will be sufficient to take it. Yeah. There's the gum trees for the West Australians. They probably planted them. A whole line of them. They're good windbreaks. You've got a farm. Some of them have died. distance thing. Maybe it knows after a while to start binging. Alright, I thought turn off was closer to the fence line, but
No, we'll be heading out to them hills there.
I didn't see a track heading that way, did you?
No, it's a little bit further down. I'd say by that next gate, and then we turn
that's
off.
right, there was a halfway gate that you left open.
That's it.
Yeah, right.
So we just go past there, and then we head out onto no, it won't be a road anymore. Then it is really a track. So as I say, there must have been some Australian delegation which came out here and laid this. There we go. There's the turn off.
Jeez. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So now I just have to go a bit slow. Alright Hendrik.
Right meneer sal nou regkom.
Ja, jy volg net die spoor, né?
Die spoor volg jy.
Okay,
Ja.
goed so.
Goed meneer.
Alright.
Meneer.
Alright. Bye, dankie.
Plezier.
Alright. Now
Yeah,
let's do a little bit of.
So you could see with Hendrik, he didn't have that real negroid face. You know, the eyes.
Yeah.
Tony, he's a little bit bushman, isn't
That's
he?
right. Yeah.
He's a local. Are they Griqua?
Pot mixed Greek. Well, we call them coloured actually. So
Right.
remember here in South Africa, coloured is not a derogative term.
No.
And they speak Afrikaans, which is a
That's
white
right.
language. So they've got a mixture. His surname, for example, is an Afrikaans surname.
Yeah.
So-
De Boer or something.
Boysons actually.
Boysons, yeah.
And so yeah, they are of mixed ancestry, and so they'll speak Afrikaans. That's why a couple of months ago, Charlize Theron said that Afrikaans is a dying language. Charlize Theron is a stupid Hollywood actress.
Oh, this is where we're heading. And I note with curiosity, there's lots of drinking water for the sheep, although we can't see any sheep, but I'm hoping the springbok can get a good drink too. Weird sort of yellow algae. And we're taking the book with us, which gives an account of the Battle of West Australian Hill, or Slingersfontein.
I'm going to explore a little bit of time.
We're approaching the Sangha now. We just heard in the book about the two Australians mentioned in dispatches for building a Sangha to protect their friend whilst under fire. So it looks like we found it straight off. Of course, rocks are a given.
That's the thing about it. It would have been difficult for the men to dig trenches because it's probably very rocky.
And it's so hard.
Yeah, it's so hard. So you couldn't dig a trench. You'd probably have to just put the rocks up to protect you.
Yeah. Yeah. And they got their backs protected. They're a little. I mean, you're talking about 3 men that would fit just one man laying down and 2 men to sort of return fire at the Boers wherever they were. But yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? All those years ago, and the fella died of his wounds, so you know, brilliant, isn't it? Be nice to pick up a rock and you find a coin under there. Unlikely. Hendman. Lieutenant Hendman.
And the two soldiers who tried to protect him were both privates, and Michael Conway and Alexander Krieger.
Conway and Krieger, both mentioned in dispatches.
Private Conway was killed, and Lieutenant Hensman's wounds were also fatal. So unfortunately, even though building this, he did not survive.
And even that looks like a little half circle.
Yeah, when you look at that, again, it looks packed by people. It would have definitely been done by the Australians, but the Boers were not based there.
Yeah, this is work done by the Australians. You can see there the half circle. Oh, bloody hell. Okay. I thought I'll just pick this up, folks, just there. So we're just in front of the Sangha. You know, I can see the men firing this as they fall back to their Sangha. It's definitely metal, but it looks like plastic.
Yeah, that's a bullet casing, a rifle casing.
So, yeah, it's pretty funny, eh?
Well spotted. Well spotted. Now you've got me looking now. Yeah.
Okay. It's given me a bit of enthusiasm for the assault on the hill. Here's another Sangha. In later wars, you would have described this as a machine gun nest, but it serves the same purpose. It's to stop the enemy from advancing with any ease. You have to take these Sanghas one by one. Always involves loss of life, but this is very well built. Although the entrance is there, like they're pointing upwards.
True. Towards the
hill. Yeah. Of course, now I'm looking for bullets everywhere. Yeah, you do that. Oh, fuck. Yeah, not too bad so far. As Tony said, the weather is quite cool for November in the Karoo. It's about 20 degrees. We found the plaque. It mentions a hensman we saw down there, perhaps where he passed.
And the Corporal Conway.
But erected. Erected to the centenary to honour all West Australian volunteers. The action, 9th of February 1900. Yeah, the WAMIs, West Australian Mounted Infantry. 26 men of Major Moore held the hill for the entire day against an attacking Boer commando. About 400 men under General J.G. Selliers. By their action, the first WAMI secured the right flank of the British force under Clements at Slingersfontein. So we Australians have paid for this partially. I don't mind, I think it's a good idea. A little flag there. So we think Slingersfontein may be around that corner. So this is probably maybe even a picket we'll put out here to protect this area, and the Boers needed to remove them. And
I can read it a little bit.
Yeah, you do that.
But before I start to read, it's the Battlefields of South Africa. It's a guidebook written by Nicky van der Heide, a well-known historian here in South Africa. And I'm quoting that the Boers around Colesburg numbered about 5,000 men. They were under the overall leadership of the recently arrived General Koos de la Rey, who was in South Africa, and he was known as the Lion of the West.
That's right.
Brilliant soldier, who had placed several of his generals in command of different sections. Freek Grobler was responsible for the west flank, Piet de Wet commanded the middle section, Richard Lemmer and Jan Cilliers led the east and southeast sections, and Gerard van Dam held sway at the far east. With his troops in place, de la Rey planned to attack both flanks of the British simultaneously. Slingersfontein had been occupied by the British on the 9th of January under the command of Brigadier General Thomas Porter. It was then taken over as part of General Ralph Clement's sector after the action on New Zealand Hill on the 15th of January, when the camp was reinforced with more troops. On the 9th of February, a mountain troop of 400 Boers, led by Cilliers, was approaching Slingersfontein from the east, when it was spotted by a patrol of Western Australian Mounted Infantry, the WAMIs. Unbeknown to Cilliers' men, the Boer attack that was intended to happen on the 10th of February had been postponed by 2 days. The Boer troops had to cross an open plain before first light, well, there's the open plain, to avoid being raked by British artillery on Slingersfontein. Under cover of the hilly country, the Boers decided to pass through a neck between West Australia Hill and a small adjacent hill, from which they aimed to launch a surprise attack on the Slingersfontein camp, which I feel is just beyond that mountain.
Yeah, I agree.
Major Hatherley Moore, commanding a troop of 27 men of the WAMI, put his men in position on the 3 small hills, and these are the ones which are behind us, commanding the neck to prevent the Boers from charging through. The Boers held position about 400 meters from the Australian held koppies on slightly higher ground. The fighting continued throughout the day, and Moore stubbornly held the hills in spite of mounting casualties. He sent a message back to the camp to warn the men of the impending attack, allowing them enough time to move the hospital down the line to a position closer to the town. The 27 men opposing 400 Boers were under fire until it got dark, when Moore withdrew his men with the aid of the Enskilling Dragoons. 3 Australians were killed, another died of sunstroke, and 3 more were injured. The Australian fighters had covered themselves in glory and demonstrated that they were steady and reliable under fire. A commemorative stone was placed on the hill on the 100th anniversary of the battle. So the principal combatants were on this hill were the Enskilling Dragoons, the Royal Field Artillery, and the Western Australian Mounted Infantry, while on the Boer side we had commandos from Lichtenberg and supported by other commandos as well. So respect to both sides.
We need to give the Australian call, so their spirits will lift up from the rocks. Cooey! Cooey! And look at that, Tony. That's like a monument over there. See that?
Yeah. Shall I go and investigate?
Well, we will on the way down.
Yeah.
That's right. Well, let's ascend this hill like the Boers.
Yeah.
Bloody Australians.
No, brave men on both sides. Brave.
Oh, for sure.
And I feel that also, the men who came to fight here were not soldiers by trade,
No.
They're just normal teachers, lawyers, farmers, whatever,
Yeah, townsfolk.
Yeah. Merchants. Yeah, where is the buildings again, eh?
Look, there's another Sangha.
Yeah, here you are.
So they're everywhere, folks.
Yeah, there you are.
We may have been a bit premature with knowing where the lieutenant was laid, but all of them have an entrance, oddly enough.
Circular?
Yeah, maybe the Boers erected them.
No, I don't think so, because
No.
they were more on patrol.
Sure.
This would have been done by the Aussies.
Okay.
Yeah, without a shadow of doubt.
Well, we'll try and skirt round. We're just a few steps away. We'll get there in a moment. I'm just trying to regather a lung that I lost along the way somewhere. But you can see the view we have. The car is now a tiny little white speck, but that looks to me, Tony, another Sangha, but a big one on that ridge there.
Yeah.
So I think what we've got here is a picket. I think these men didn't build those Sangha during the battle. I think they built them with a view to protecting and defending. And the reason, perhaps, they point inwards is to shoot off any men ascending this hill, to stop this hill being taken.
From the rear.
And as they found they were being overwhelmed, or they just fell back into the next Sangha. And you know, when pushed, they could have fallen back to this level, but always a defensive place to fall back to. I mean, that looks like rockworks over that hill too, but this is the main one.
See the main.
Yeah.
It's more circular.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's it. And I doubt, I don't know, in 20 years there wouldn't have been many people come up here in the last couple of decades. The farm is, I think, behind that hill.
Yeah.
You can't see the farm from here.
The road came on is along there. You can't see that.
Anyway, we're only a few feet from the summit of Western Australia Hill. We stopped and caught our breath. Me more than Tony. Tony's an old bushman, so he's kept himself fit. He goes running up bloody Naval Hill. You should have been able to trot up here with. So here we are. My hat's about to blow off. Yes, there were 27 Australians holding this hill. As I said, I don't think you'd have 27 men up here, because if you did, the Boers could get real close and you wouldn't be able to see them. What's more likely is you've probably got 10 or 15 up here. And even, you see where your feet are? You see that gully there where we climbed up? That's quite possibly where you had men holding the horses. And probably that outcrop there is the main Sangha, and the smaller ones are, you know, 2 or 3 men Sanghas. You've probably got about 10 of them up here. Maybe they're holding the heliograph up here. Yeah, your officers would be up here directing them. You can see all the way out there. Around that corner is Colesburg, across to Rensburg. This is a fantastic part of the Boer War story. Of course, I'm here for Major Eddie and Captain Salmon. Apparently, Newport, I was always saying it wrong, as I was saying Navapoort. It's Newport. Is where the hospital was, where Captain Salmon died of the enteric fever. I'm almost at the summit. We could call it the summit, but what I consider to be the forward post. This would hold, let's say, 8 men comfortably, because if you're all the way back, you can't see men creeping up here. So this is an outpost, and I did dig around there. You can see my scratching, because there'd be shell casings. If you gave me all day and a little spade, your metal detector would make it easy. You'd find stuff here. critters. Let's make our way down to the next level.
Yeah. But yeah, without a shadow of doubt, these 27 men, however they were spaced around here, they certainly had a strategic position. Hence, they could hold off 400.
Yeah.
Because of this strategic position.
And if your officers are up there with the binoculars,
Yeah.
they're going to be able to yell down to you.
Go to the right, you know, the right 300 guys coming in.
And you know, that next level, they'll be Aussies. Tomo! To the right, Tomo! They're coming up!
If that was the nickname for
Well, that'd be an Aussie named Thompson, it'd be Tomo.
Tomo.
Okay, back in action, change the batteries. Yeah, on the way, when we were looking at that plaque, just over there, I noticed to our left a pile of rocks, and coming down the hill we made an effort to find them. Tony has found them first. Tony being part Dassy, part rock rabbit, had no trouble. Of course I've been stuck, salted. Now here's the can. We don't know why.
There's no plaque.
You know, it could signify maybe in the decades after they put it here to signal to anyone coming out, this is Australia Hill. You know, anyone perhaps being given instructions or look for the can, that'll point you to Australian Hill.
And you can see, you know, these have been placed.
Yeah, and that's obviously. So
there's nothing to.
Might get another photo, Tony.
Yeah.
Look what they've found on the farm.
Yeah.
Langstracht.
Yeah. How do you want to hold it, my friend?
Yeah, some writing on the bottom, but this is from West Australia, Kopi.
Yeah.
Ah, very interesting. That's the writing on the bottom.
I don't know what.
Can't really make it out.
No.
2708.
I don't know if it's Boer or British. Can you see
It's
that?
an L. R, is it? BR. CL something.
Yeah, there's an L there. Yeah, you're right. C2 or something. B.
Yeah. It would mean something. But
Yeah.
fascinating, eh? How's that?
Oh,
Hendrik has found some other stuff. Oh my
God, Hendrik.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that's a badge of a.
God and Lieben.
Yeah. This is British. Won't be Boer.
No, that's right.
And that's Latin. It could be Australian.
Hans Mal Pence. No, that's Dutch, isn't it? Halpence. Mal Pence.
No, the Boers wouldn't have this. This, I'm going to say, is either is Latin.
I think it's Dutch because
The
word pence.
Pence, yeah.
One, it's mysterious, but that looks like a British
Emblem cut.
Yeah, who knows what that is?
I don't know what you've got here, Hendrik. Yeah.
Yeah.
Take a photo of that. Maybe you can get it ID'd.
Yeah.
And send it to me as well, and I can go to the Boer War Museum as well. Maybe they can.